Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So Bhagavad-Gita Chapter 18, Text 72. Kasid etak trutram partha tavyagrena satesa kasid ajana samoha pranastaste Dhanajaya. O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, have you heard this attentively with your mind? And are your illusions and ignorance now dispelled? The Lord was acting as the spiritual master of Arjuna. Therefore, it was his duty to inquire from Arjuna whether he understood the whole Bhagavad Gita in its proper perspective. If not, the Lord was ready to re-explain any point or the whole point of Bhagavad Gita if so required. Actually, anyone who hears Bhagavad Gita from a bona fide spiritual master like Krishna or his representative will find that all his ignorance is dispelled. Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary book written by a poet or fiction writer. It is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any person, if he is fortunate enough to hear these teachings from Krishna or from his bona fide spiritual representative, is sure to become a liberated person and get out of the darkness of ignorance. Text 73. Arjuna Yuvaka Nastu Mahara Smritar Labda Tavat Prasadan Maya Svayuta Statito Smi Gata Sandeha Karisyai Vakanam Tava. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy, and I am now firm and free from doubt and am prepared to act according to your instructions. The constitutional position of a living entity represented by Arjuna is that he has to act according to the order of the Supreme Lord. He is meant for self-discipline. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that the actual position of the living entity is that of eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Forgetting this principle, the living entity becomes conditioned by material nature, but in the serving of the Supreme Lord, he becomes the liberated servant of God. The living entity's constitutional position is to be servitor. He either has to serve illusionary Maya or the Supreme Lord. If he serves the Supreme Lord, he is in his normal condition, but if he prefers to serve the illusionary external energy, then he will be in bondage. Then certainly he will be in bondage. In illusion, the living entity is serving in this material world. He is bound by his lust and desires, yet he thinks himself as the master of the world. This is called illusion. When a person is liberated, his illusion is over, and he voluntarily surrenders unto the Supreme to act according to his desires. The last illusion, the last snare of Maya to trap the living entity is the proposition that he is God. The living entity thinks that he is no longer a conditioned soul, but God. He is so unintelligent that he does not think that if he were God, then how can he be in doubt? That he does not consider. So what is the last snare of illusion? So that is the last snare of illusion. Actually, to become free from the illusionary energy is to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and agree to act according to his order. The word moha is very important in this verse. Moha refers to that which is opposed to knowledge. Actually, real knowledge is the understanding that every living being is eternally servitor of the Lord. But instead of thinking oneself in that position, the living entity thinks that he is not servant, that he is the master of this material world, for he wants to lord it over the material nature. That is his illusion. This illusion can be overcome by the mercy of the Lord or by the mercy of a pure devotee. When that illusion is over, one agrees to act in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is acting according to Krishna's order. A conditioned soul illusioned by the external energy of matter does not know that the Supreme Lord is the master who is full of knowledge and who is the proprietor of everything. Whatever he desires, he can bestow upon his devotees. He is a friend of everyone, and he is especially inclined to his devotee. He is the controller of this material nature and of all living entities. He is also the controller of inexhaustible time, and he is full of all opulences and all potencies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can even give himself to the devotee. One who does not know him is under the spell of illusion. He does not become a devotee, but a servitor of Maya. Arjuna, however, after hearing Bhagavad-Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, became free from all illusion. He could understand that Krishna was not only his friend, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he understood Krishna factually. So to study Bhagavad-Gita is to understand Krishna factually. When a person is in full knowledge, he naturally surrenders to Krishna. When Arjuna understood that it was Krishna's plan to reduce the unnecessary increase of population, he agreed to fight according to Krishna's desire. He again took up his weapons, his arrows and bow to fight under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 74. Sanjaya Yuvaka iti aham vasudevasya parthasya cha mahatmana samvadam imam asrusam adbhutam roma harsanam. Sanjaya said, "Thus have I heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end." In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Drisasta inquired from his secretary Sanjaya, what happened in the battlefield of Kurukshetra? The entire study was related to the heart of Sanjaya by the grace of his spiritual master, Vyasa. He thus explained the theme of the battlefield. The conversation was wonderful because such an important conversation between two great souls never took place before and would not take place again. It is wonderful because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is speaking about himself and his energies to the living entity Arjuna, a great devotee of the Lord. If we follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna, then our life will be happy and successful. Sanjaya realized this, and as he began to understand it, he related the conversation to Dhritarashtra. Now it is concluded that wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, there is victory. Text 75. Vyasa prasadak prutavan etad bhuyam aham param yogam yogasvara krishnat saksat kathayata savayam. By the mercy of Vyasa, I have heard these confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjuna. Vyasa was the spiritual master of Sanjaya, and Sanjaya admits that it was by his mercy that he could understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This means that one has to understand Krishna not directly, but through the medium of a spiritual master. The spiritual master is the transparent medium, although it is true that the experience is direct. This is the mystery of the disciplic succession. When the spiritual master is bona fide, then one can hear Bhagavad Gita directly as Arjuna heard it. There are many mystics and yogis all over the world, but Krishna is the master of all yoga systems. Krishna's instruction is explicitly stated in Bhagavad Gita, surrender unto Krishna. One who does so is the topmost yogi. This is confirmed in the last verse of the 6th chapter, Yoginam api sarvasam. Narada is the direct disciple of Krishna and the spiritual master of Vyasa. Therefore, Vyasa is as bona fide as Arjuna because he comes in the disciplic succession, and Sanjaya is the direct disciple of Vyasa. Therefore, by the grace of Vyasa, his senses were purified, and he can see and hear Krishna directly. One who directly hears Krishna can understand this confidential knowledge. If one does not come to the disciplic succession, he cannot hear Krishna. Therefore, his knowledge is always imperfect, at least as far as understanding Bhagavad-Gita is concerned. In Bhagavad-Gita, all the yoga systems, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga are explained. Krishna is the master of all such mysticism. It is to be understood, however, that as Arjuna was fortunate enough to understand Krishna directly, similarly, by the grace of Vyasa, Sanjaya was also able to hear Krishna directly. Actually, there is no difference in hearing directly from Krishna or hearing directly from Krishna via a bona fide spiritual master like Vyasa. The spiritual master is the representative of Vasudeva also. According to the Vedic system, on the birthday of the spiritual master, the disciples conduct the ceremony called Vasaya Puja. Text 76. Rajan Samsmitya Samam Vadam Imam Abhutam Kesavarjuna Yo Punyam Harisyami Cha Muha Muha. O king, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure, being thrilled at every moment. The understanding of Bhagavad Gita is so transcendental that anyone who becomes conversant with topics of Arjuna and Krishna becomes righteous, and he cannot forget such talks. This is the transcendental position of spiritual life. In other words, one who hears the Gita from the right source, directly from Krishna, attains full Krishna consciousness. The result of Krishna consciousness is that one becomes increasingly enlightened, and he enjoys life with a thrill, not only for some time, but at every moment. Text 77. Takcha samsmitya rupam ati abhutam harer vismayo me mahan rajan hishyami cha puna puna. O king, when I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with even greater wonder, and I rejoice again and again. It appears that Sanjaya also, by the grace of Vyasa, could see the universal form of Krishna exhibited to Arjuna. It is, of course, said that the Lord Krishna never exhibited such a form before. It was exhibited to Arjuna only, yet some great devotees could also see the universal form of Krishna when it was shown to Arjuna, and Vyasa was one of them. He is one of the great devotees of the Lord, and he is considered to be a powerful incarnation of Krishna. Vyasa disclosed this to his disciple Sanjaya, who remembered that wonderful form of Krishna exhibited to Arjuna and enjoyed it repeatedly. I'll save 78 for tomorrow so we can do some breath work and meditate so that Dominica doesn't lose it. And hi, Lauren. I don't know if I said good morning to you this morning. I saw you there.
Good morning. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Lauren. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes, Lauren just started with us yesterday. I'm really glad they yesterday we started talking about Sanjaya again, and then he came back in toward the end. I'm like, what a way to wrap it up. Thoughts, questions?
Sue, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you. Once again, there was emphasis on the spiritual master and the importance of the spiritual master. And remember when I asked Amanda, so who's our spiritual master? And she said, basically, something about the text being the spiritual master. Do you remember that? And it doesn't seem like it's enough, because for some reason today, I was reminded way back I was like 12 or 13 and I was taking algebra, and I had this Iron Maiden for a teacher. Boy, she was tough. And she was this big lady with gray hair, etc. I thought she was ancient. She was probably, 25 years younger than I am now. But there's no way I could have gotten through algebra without her. She was algebra spiritual master, She was, because it just wasn't intuitive for me. Geometry I got, but I did not get algebra. And that's how I feel about this, is that, yeah, you need a real live spiritual master. And I know what Amanda said. The interpretations are coming from a spiritual master, and therefore we are being guided by a spiritual master, even though there may not be anyone, in the group. That's what she said.
Yeah, I know I've skipped a lot because it's been a while, but that's what struck me from what was being said this morning. And it made me think of, well, I'm currently reading the Book of Longings, if anybody's read that book, which is a story about Jesus. It's written by Sue Monk Kids, same person who wrote.
She writes A Secret Life of Bees.
That's it. She wrote that. So that's why I picked up this book. Anyway, it's very interesting. It's about Jesus' life, but it's also about very much about women in that time and their role, and what role they didn't have and what role they couldn't have. And I suppose it was just making me think. I also read something the other day from another yoga site comparing the words of Krishna to the words of Christ. Mm-hmm. And it was direct comparisons, things that Krishna said, and then a direct comparison to something that Christ had said, and that the way to the Lord is through me, Christ would say, and that Krishna is saying that too. And it struck me as I was reading this today that this is part of organized religion, which I have a little trouble with, that you need someone, authorized person, to get you there. You can't do it. You're an ordinary person. You can't do this on your own. And it bothers me. So I'm so glad that we have this translation, and that perhaps we have some sort of master that, to help us to do this. But I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like why is in many traditions that you need to have some guru to be able to help you to access spiritual enlightenment, that you can't do it on your own. This is what it's telling, the texts are telling you. And so that's kind of what struck me this morning. I was like, oh, here we go again. That you need to have somebody else, a man probably.
Oh, definitely.
To bring you there. Otherwise, it's not happening.
Lost in the rain,
Well,
yeah.
I think we've talked about that many times here, right? And
right.
Oh yeah, this is just like every other religion. But I remember that time that I said, like, my brain gets in the way and tells me lies a lot about myself too, and inhibits me from doing things at times. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where, if I had to be like, okay, let's take for the benefit of the doubt here, if I had to say, I need somebody to help me get out of my own way sometimes. That's the only way I would try to look at somebody as a spiritual master.
Gotcha.
I think Lauren wants to say something.
I do. I also in the Bible, in the Bhagavad-Gita, it does word that it's also within your heart. So that light that's within you, and we say that often, but I think that we don't really understand it because we have to peel all the layers, as Pam said yesterday, and really find that simple light that just lives in us, that is the creator, that is the light that we all are unified by. And I think that that is always inside of you. And it's just this like search of life and finding that and kind of peeling that back and coming back.
That was so pretty.
Love that. Yeah,
Jerry.
that's what I was gonna say. Don't they say our guru is within, and it winds up being within. Like we're always looking for that spiritual master out there, but really it's in here. And Amanda said she's gonna join tomorrow. I'm gonna remind her it's gonna be the last Gita, so we can get her on, because I'd like to hear what she has to say on this. She also sent me 2 Instagram things yesterday or 2 days ago, and it was, I read them very briefly, but I wanted to talk to her more about it. And basically, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, but it was like keeping your guru a secret. And it's like, find a good guru and then not tell anybody about it. And like, I don't understand like the secrecy and the spiritual master part of it. Like, it was almost like, and part of this article was like, you keep your valuables in a like secret spot. And for me personally, I don't really do that. Like, I want to display all my goodness. And the second I stumble across something, I want to tell everybody about it. And maybe that's a fault of mine. I don't know. But I'm curious to know why, if you find a good spiritual master, like if you find a good yoga teacher, and I get it, it's all relative, because like my good yoga teacher and my good yoga studio is going to be different from everybody else's, and my favorite book is going to be different than everybody else's. But it doesn't mean I can't have a conversation around it. But so like, that's why I was like curious to know. So like if I find my guru within, am I not supposed to tell anybody? And that came up a lot, I think, in what was it, the Hatha Yoga Pradipika books too, that we were reading, that like, don't tell anybody what you're doing as part of your spiritual practice.
When I remember, yes, it's come up before, definitely, Pam. And my interpretation of that, I didn't understand it, and then something kind of resonated, and it's when I'm trying to write something. And one of the things that happens is you want to share the fact that you're trying to write something with people and you want to get their input and all that sort of thing. And the bottom line is you really can't do that. You have to stop, and you have to, it has to come from you. You can work with one other person, and hopefully one other person who knows what they're doing beyond what you're, doing in terms of writing and of expressing what you want to express. But you dilute it when you ship it out there, plus the writing process, and I would imagine the spiritual growth process is a very individualistic thing. There are steps forward, there are steps backwards, there are gains, there are mistakes, and it gets too diluted, and you get too distracted if you have too many people contributing to it. So it's sort of, for me, it's kind of like, you won't get it done if you share too much of it. You have to sort of forge through on your own. And it's kind of like giving birth. You could have 50 people in the room, but honey, you're the one giving birth, and you're the only one. You can have somebody coaching you, and it could be good, but you are the one who's pushing. And I sort of feel that that's sort of what it means. The other thing that came to mind is, remember that phrase, and I can't remember where I read it, but Buddha once said, kill the Buddha. And I think what he meant is, it is within you, and you can have a spiritual master, but the spiritual master is not the answer. The spiritual master is perhaps the guide to getting to wherever you're going to go in terms of spirituality.
Yeah. I hear everything you're saying, Sue, and it makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm tugging back to something in the text. And correct me if I'm wrong, but something in the text today said that the last Maya, the last illusion, is that we think that we are God. Now, there's a difference between thinking you're a God and thinking that there is something spark of divine within you. I get that. But that's a little kind of contradictory to me, in a way, that if it's saying that's the last illusion, and that you give yourself up to Krishna when you realize that you're not, right? When you've gotten rid of that last illusion, it's coming back to that you're not your own spiritual master, that you need to have someone outside of you. So there's that kind of, I hear what you're saying, and that makes more sense to me, but I feel like that's not what the text said specifically. Just in that, that piece, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the parallel you drew with other organized religions is right there. There is always somebody who has the answer, and you have to pay attention to that person because they've got the answer. You might have a big chunk of the answer, but you don't have the answer. And I agree with you, Jackie, that bothers me tremendously because it allows, hierarchies, and it allows rankings and classifications. It doesn't allow paying attention and accepting things. Well, maybe it does. I was going to say it doesn't allow paying attention and accepting things that you don't understand. I would have to think that through, but I agree with you. That is a problem, and it's so tied up with cultural and societal reality.
Right. And when we have to remember when Bhagavad-Gita was written, what the cultural situation, what all of that was. So it would be weird if it didn't say that. Do you know what I mean? Because that
yeah, but that's still around, and not
it is
just in third world countries. That's still around here.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I have to say.
Jackie, there's been a lot we have not agreed with this book. We just read and keep reading. And
Absolutely. Yeah. Which is fine, because like you said at the beginning, you're taking little bits, and the little bits that you're taking are what you're ready for.
Yeah.
To take, and then the next time you read it, you might take different little bits because you'll be ready for something different. But
I think this is one book still, like I'm already like, I'll probably donate this to the Rev Lending Library. Like, I don't think I'll ever pick up. It's not like the Sutra where I'll like pick it up and just like this version of it. I have two other versions of this book, of the Gita, that I will probably keep, but this version, it's just been a lot. I don't know if in this lifetime I need it anymore.
Well,
I have gotten a lot out of it, but it wasn't a book like that needs to sit on my shelves.
Yeah. It's also a big book with many pages.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So,
all right. I got up really early this morning. I already meditated, so I'm going to sign off, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 7:30.
Okay, awesome.
Congratulations on your freedom, Jackie. That's really nice.
Yes, it is.
Okay. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll do some breathing and meditation. Sitting up nice and tall, finding that straight spine. Relax your face. You can keep your eyes open or gently closed, finding that one point of focus. Bringing attention to the breath, breathing in and out through the nose if that feels okay this morning. Trying to lengthen the breath into the low belly, letting the belly button come out, and then exhaling, pulling the belly button down to the spine, letting all the air out. Beginning to create equal breath in, breathing in for 4 counts and out for 4 counts. And if 4 doesn't feel like a good number for you, you pick the number that suits you. And bring your right hand over to the face. You'll close the peace fingers into the palm or place them on your third eye, the space between the eyebrows. Your thumb will close the right nostril and your ring finger will close the left nostril. So closing the right nostril with the thumb, inhale through the left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. Inhale left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. We'll do a few more rounds. If you have your locks of retention and want to add that into your practice, go for it. Inhaling left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Releasing the palm down to the lap. Setting up for your meditation practice, however that looks like for you this morning. I'm setting the timer. If you need to drop early, of course, do so.
Can you send through that playlist again?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm sharing the Hare Krishna. It's about a 20-minute chant. It's a useful meditation tool if it's something you'd like this morning. Bringing your hands to your heart center. Namaste.